Oh, and welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is August 31st, last day of August 2025. So, hitting the road running. Germany, Japan, and South Korea economies are suffering due to export difficulties. So, this is bad planning. You build up your exporting thingy, and it starts going bad on you, and now you're hurting. That's because you didn't plan well. Well, is it really? You can't plan for everything, right? Everybody knows it happens. I don't want to say the word, but stuff happens, and that you don't expect. All right. Well, you should be planning for contingencies. You should always be planning for contingencies. And I just want to say we need more planning in the world, within countries themselves and in between countries. We need more planning. Everybody should be working together, holding hands, kumbaya. Yeah, of course, that's never going to happen. But that's the dream. You have to have the dream. All right, next shot. Stephen Miller, this wonderful person that wants to see at least 30,000 people being picked up by ICE every day. Um, he's made a statement recently that the Democratic Party is an extremist organization. So he's looking to outlaw the Democratic Party. So it might not be too long before we see brown shirts. Those are the thugs that Mussolini had running around enforcing his punishments upon people he didn't like. And Trump is actually now advertising. They got a website. If you want to come join us, if you like carrying guns, you like pushing people around, you want to be a pretend cop, but only better because you'll be working for the feds. Come put your name down on this form. The only requirements are that you want to come and carry a gun. And so he's going to have people like this, running around doing, God only knows what. All right. Well, Louisiana has a data center going up, and I was reading a story about this, listening to a story, and how they got this huge tax break, and how this is going to raise electric bills, and these data centers might be the reasons why a lot of people's electric bills are going up because they suck up huge amounts of electricity, especially with this AI infrastructure. It apparently requires a lot of equipment to get AI to work, and these things will really make your bills go up. And but I wanted to talk about the tax breaks. This is another thing that bothers me. The companies playing one state against the other. What kind of deal can you give me? What kind of deal can you give me? And the states go along with it. The states should get together. They should all say, listen, none of us is going to offer a better tax deal. We're all going to offer a flat rate. And so now these people are going to come to where well, something else besides me giving you a tax break, something a little more fair. And then this gets down also to the planning thing again. I think that there should be more planning about where companies go, and how they can just pick up and say we're done here, we're going someplace else. And now that should be not allowed. I mean, I'm not saying you can't at any way, shape, or form move around, but there should be more consideration for the population, and just ripping them up like that. So we need more concerns for actually where companies are, where they're spread around. I've been in favor of farms should be localized. It shouldn't be just one big concentration, all in one place with the corporate world, putting out these plastic tasting foods. There should be, luscious, wonderful, homegrown stuff, local, all around the place. And we need to do this with all kinds of things. Need to be spread around and make it so that all the communities everywhere, get benefits from it. So just wanted to say that. So now I have been commenting a couple of times on something called van life, living in a van. Some people can't afford a home; they live in their car or they live in their van, and now that's being criminalized. You can't live in your van. You can't sleep in it. If you find a place, you live in your van, a parking lot, or even a campsite, and you sit there and you're not there. If you're there too late, the cops will come over to you, knock on your window. What are you doing here? Move along. You're not allowed to be here. And that's a bad thing in itself. But what brought this to my attention recently was a story about a woman who's doing the van life thing. She's been doing it for years, and she was just making a video on how you can get harassed, and not just from police trying to tell you it's time to go, but from locals, people just coming over wondering what are you doing here, and giving you a hard time. And she's saying if I was a man, I wouldn't get half the trouble I'm getting, which is true. So much. Women are just treated, badly by men because men are beasts. They're crude animals. There's a huge population of them. When they find someone that's weaker, they pick on them. And it's not just picking on women per se. We all know about the high school bullies, right? These guys that are big, and they always have a couple of wingmen walking, alongside them that think it's cool to be hanging out with the bully, and they just pick on people. But this woman was being harassed by a city employee. Man was pulling up in an official city vehicle with a tow thing, and just if you're interested in seeing any one of these videos, what it's like, I got the name of her site. It was called Bunny, like Bunny Rabbit, and Beyond, and that was all just one word, Bunny and Beyond. So yeah, van life. It's a crazy thing, but I can't believe how they're harassing people about that. When you're down to that's the level you're up to, and you're getting harassed for that, that's really terrible, terrible. All right, so there was a recent thing in the UN talking about the famine in Gaza, and the UN wanting to make a statement about how this is a man-made, specifically an Israeli-made. Doesn't just say man-made. This is an Israeli-made uh, famine that's going on, and all the countries, signed on to vote. Yeah, that's what it is. We're all saying it's man-made, except for one country. And you might think Israel. No, I guess Israel didn't even participate. Now that I'm thinking about this, but Israel wasn't the country pointed out. It was the United States. The old, we go Israel, Israel first, make Israel first again. All right, so they said no, and now I don't know if I got this story in there. Maybe look down. Okay, just about talking about the Israel influence that is so amazing, so it's unbelievable in this country. Do you know that in Beverly Hills, the unified school district, one of the school districts there, decided, you know what we need? We need in our schools, and it's often on this channel I talk about Bibles or the Ten Commandments, but no, not in this case. In this case, the Israeli flag needs to be flown, right under the American flag, or maybe just alongside of it. But anyway, it's got to be there. The Israeli flag. What kind? What kind of pathetic sucking up is this? What kind of pathetic allegiance to some other country is this? This is outrageous. It's just outrageous. That's all I can say. I do talk about some outrageous things on this channel. All right, so Trump, he's taking control of Union Station. I guess that's a train station, an Amtrak station in Washington, D.C. He decided to take control of it, and certainly not so that there would be better running trains or anything, just so he could control it. I was watching the other channel that was commenting on this same thing, saying dictators, authoritarians, they love to take over trains. In North Korea, they take over the trains. In this country, in China, they take over the trains. In Putin, in Russia, they take over the trains. They just have this thing about taking over the trains, and so he's taken over that train station, and he's talking about taking over one in Boston, South Station, and in New York, Penn Station, and these are major passageways for human beings that you control them, and you're controlling the flow of a lot of human beings for whatever reason you might want to. And one thing I thought was interesting is I was listening to the comments was, there's a difference between taking a train and a plane, and the difference is ID. All you need is to pay money at the window for a train ticket. They don't have to say, let me see your ID. They don't have to write it down anywhere, and you can go where you want. But if you go on a plane, you have to put your ID. Why is that? Why should that be? Really, you should go to an airplane terminal, say, "Here's my $200, and oh, thank you, and here's your ticket." Strange, isn't it? But there you go. That's how that one goes. Rob Braxman. Oh my goodness! Now this story. The man's name, producing it, Rob Braxman, Braxman. And if you want to look up this story, look up his name with the words "kill privacy forever." Now we all know that our cell phones are like tracking devices. Well, this person is showing us how now there are really going to be tracking devices, and that you have to accept being tracked, and that they're starting this program in the UK right now, and it hasn't gotten to the extreme point yet, but they've got the beginning baby steps in there with programs that can monitor your phone for inappropriate material. And what they're focusing on is child pornography, inappropriate, children pictures, and that they've got software that can scan your phone, and that they can be on computers too. They just scan all through your computer phone, looking for pictures, for images that are inappropriate. And maybe a person might not have too much issue with that, although the thing that it's scanning, and it's scanning not to notify you, hey, you've got this stuff on your phone, although presumably you would know it already, right? But it's so that it can report it to the authorities. And while this still seems like something, well, that's some bad stuff. Yeah, reporting it to the authorities, that's perhaps acceptable, except that that's just the beginning. This stuff is going to be, and they're working on it to where it will just scan completely your phone for everything, every message you send, every message you receive, every website you go to, everything that can possibly be recorded on the phone. This thing will scan and will report back to authorities. And while it's not mandatory yet, I'm getting confused on this. You have to see this story. It is being mandatory on the UK phones at this point, and it's going to come to a theater near you soon, because actually the software that can do this is already on the phones. It's already on your phones. It's in there. It's just the switch hasn't been flipped yet. So it's just a matter of time before we're in that movie, or it was actually a book called 1984. Big Brother is watching you, and you wake up in the morning and turn on your TV, and a big eye is staring at you, and it's telling you, "Yes, you're going to do this today. Here's your job, and you report back to us later how you did, and we'll ask you any questions if we don't like something you did. We're wondering about it." Big Brother is going to be watching every move, and this is really frightening. I know, of course, you always get the people say, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about anything. I think every one of us does something wrong, or even if you the main thing, don't criticize the government, don't criticize the authorities, then they'll take over you. And how they can take over you is just amazing, especially with this thing called sanctions, where they freeze your bank account, and they make it so that you can't even do any transaction. Your credit cards don't work, you can't buy something. Somebody could possibly hand you money, but already going to be guilty. They're going to be charged with something, aiding and abetting a criminal, if they give you money so you can go buy food. Sanctions, it's really amazing. And you keep hearing about, they're talking about digital money. They want to get to digital money, which we sort of have already just with credit cards, right? You don't pay with cash, it's just a credit card. And where's your money in the bank? There's no dollars there. It's just a statement on a computer account. I mean, yeah, they do have some dollars, but the number of dollars don't equal, all the money on the people's accounts. They got enough money to give people a few dollars here and there now and then. But if you've ever seen um, A Wonderful Life, where the bank is going to be foreclosed, and Mr. Bailey is saying, yeah, we don't have all your money here. Your money is in this person's home and that person's home. We just have a little bit on hand. So yeah, most of it is all on a computer account somewhere, and they can just stop that anytime they want. It's pretty frightening. So, any rate, see this person, Braxman, Rob Braxman, and that was really frightening. Just more and more frightening stuff comes along every day. I'm telling you, I gotta invest in Xanax or something. Do they still sell Xanax? Any rate, so what? Turkey has closed its ports and its airspace to Israel because they're upset with the genocide. Now, when I wrote this down, I was thinking, well, it's nice to see somebody doing something. But later on, after that, I saw another story about Turkey doing things that was actually, still helping Israel. It was still passing fuel on to them through pipelines, something or another. So the person that was commenting made, a funny comment. Says, well, you're all probably asking yourselves right now, well, actually, who's helping who and not helping who? Because it's very confusing. So here we go. A story came out just recently, last 2 days. I don't seem to put out a video every day, so a couple of days about my favorite channels, my lefty channels, my Democrat channels, how they are actually taking dark money and under conditions of not saying that they're taking the dark money, and that they will only produce so and so materials and subjects and positions, and not take others. And so there was a big blow up, because immediately the lefties, are trying to defend themselves. No, that's not true. And one of my favorite people at the center of it, Brian Tyler Cohen. He was actually a co-founder of the group that they give out $8,000 a month to people that want to participate. And on his argument, the whole thing is just to lift up and help people become YouTubers. Show them, how you market, how you get screens, how you get a home screen. Which I wish I knew that because I don't have a home screen yet. And in other words, everything just good stuff. That the left has been putting out material. They've had people, with online stuff for so long, and now the left needs to do it and catch up. But it was a big fight back and forth, and I saw something to make me believe it. You have to come to your own opinion in everything in this world. You should never take anything point blank. One thing that I did have to note was in the people being critical was how you never hear anything about Gaza. And I have commented myself numerous times when I'm reading these articles and you get to make comments, and I'll make them. And usually, this has always happened when someone happens to mention something about Ukraine and the bad, mean Russians attacking Ukraine, and no apparent recognition of what NATO's role has been. And I criticize them on that. And additionally, I mentioned, and you're going to talk about Ukraine, but you're not going to say anything about Gaza. And none of them do. And I had to say that is so true. I'm thinking, wow, maybe there is something to this. And like I said, Brian was trying to say we don't tell anybody what to produce or not produce. That's totally up to them. And then some other people were arguing, there's a lot of times when no one, explicitly tells you something, but it's like an unwritten law. You get to know what's allowed and what's not allowed. I'll tell you, I don't know what the bottom line is, but I can say that I still listen to hear and peel out the truth from something using my own truth peeling equipment. And that's a real thing, because some people can't appeal the truth, can't appreciate the truth. They don't see it. And so I'm referring to all those people who watch Fox. They don't have a good truth detection system, and the people who are MAGA also do not have a good truth detection system. I have one, and I'm not saying I just know the truth because I put lots of pieces together. It's not just from these indie sources, saying something. I then look at all the news that's out there. Just hear straight reporting stuff. Like I know for a fact that there are troops in D.C. That's nobody's going to question that. Now, opinions can be your opinion or my opinion, and no, but that's not even a fact changing thing. But I still get a lot of good material from these left-leaning outfits, and it was interesting to hear about that, though. And so that's just something to say. And you know what? Oh, another thing they were talking about. Because of this, they can get a lot more views, and you and I can't. Not you, because maybe you're not doing this. I'm doing this. I'm not getting many views, but I'm thinking I'm just a baby. I'm just starting out. Nobody knows I'm here. I have a couple of people that seem to comment regularly. God bless you. And so I'm talking too much about that because I don't have too much more left. So let's go. An official sounds the alarm about Social Security. Oh yeah, all right. Social Security, that information that you're supposed to, not just shout it out to everybody in the world. Well, Doge, when it started going looking after waste, fraud, and abuse, they just went right into the Social Security system. What these people were allowed to do is totally mind-boggling. Not only did they go in there, but they went in there with secret IDs that nobody knows who they were. They created these false accounts, not false, they were real. But they created these accounts and created them in a way that nobody could track them, and then they erased them after they got out. This sounds like a really honest, upfront kind of organization. So they took all the information of Social Security information, which also has medical records. There's all kinds of personal stuff attached to it. Why? Why did they even take it? Why did they even get in there? Who let them in there? It was crazy. So, at any rate, this stuff was recently reported is on an unsecure cloud server where anybody can get it, and probably anybody has got it. Now, I'll tell you, in one sense, whereas that's frightening and that's amazing, but there are so many times we hear about 20 million people's passwords security was breached left and right, because all these companies want to hold that information, and and they're open like a sieve. Everybody can get it. But at any rate, sounded the alarm. All right, this is how the Trump organization works. So this person said, "Hey, look what happened. You're fired. We don't like such bad news being spread. You're fired." That's the way these guys work. They don't like the job numbers report, so the person in charge of producing the report, you're fired. They don't like people saying that diseases are coming from here or there. They want a world where there's no disease. So you report a disease, you're fired. Half the CDC, Center for Disease Control, fired. They're all fired. Um, the people in the Justice Department. There was one that was dealt with ethics, ethical behavior. You're all fired. We don't need an ethical department. That's how this government goes. I see a lot of reports about Trump's rating on the economy, on immigration, on jobs, on this, on the other thing, and how they're tanking and they're low and they're low. Then I see a report about would you vote for a Republican? Would you vote for Trump again? Yes, 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 yes. I get all these high numbers. They're going to vote for Trump again. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. All right. So what? We're getting near the end. Christy Noam. We got these troops in Los Angeles that shouldn't be there because you don't send troops unless the governor asks for them. And Trump just declared there's an emergency and I have to send troops in there. So all right. Governor Newsom takes it to court. A court says, "We think you're right, Newsom. These troops don't belong here. They got to go." And the government appeals it. And the appeal court says, "Well, I don't know. There could be an argument here. I want to hear more about it. I'm going to schedule another hearing in another 2 weeks." And the person who said that Newsom was right, I'm going to put a hold on that. and so the troops can stay there until we have this other hearing, in 2 weeks. I don't get these court systems. Everything's 2 weeks. Everything takes a step. All right, first step. What? Somebody has a complaint. What's your complaint? Well, I don't like what this person did. Very good. The other person has an opportunity, to say something about it. That'll be another 3 weeks. All right, the person comes in and says, yeah, yeah, this is what I say. Well, we got to discuss this between the both of you. That'll be in another month. And by the time something gets done, people, went from being a baby to a retirement home. It's just crazy how these courts thing, and we've got that thing that says, a quick and rapid justice system. Nobody should be, held in jail forever just waiting for a case to be heard. And then, meanwhile, they are. Some people are in jail for years waiting for the court case to be held. All right. So, but oh wow, Kristi Noem. I'm gonna get back to this. Okay. So they got the troops in there in Los Angeles because there's an emergency. So even though there isn't, but that's what they're saying. Well, now they're not even saying that anymore. Kristi Noem said these troops, they're there and they're going to stay until we can liberate California from their liberal, governor. And so now it's not even they're there for the supposed emergency. Now it's there so that we can, turn the state into the kind of state that we want, that does things that we want, and that's how that's going. So that's pretty pretty expected actually at this point. Pretty expected. It's all an authoritarian dictatorial regime. And goodness, I am just so hoping that we get to 2026 and we get some people in there. There's already been a number of contests that the Republicans, were in a stronghold and they lost to a Democrat by a huge margin. So there's signs that there's a possibility that we could have a little sanity come in, or even if not sanity, just some breaks on the insanity. Well, there we go. Um, Thank you for watching. I gotta keep saying this at the beginning. Please like, please subscribe, and even give me a comment like good show, and nice, liked it. And have a nice, hope you had a nice summer, even though it's still summer. I don't know, September to me always seems like the start of fall, the end of summer. And at any rate, whatever you call it, I hope you enjoy it and take care.